Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the Peugeot 408 GT plug-in hybrid 225. 225 stands for the engine, which is the same as in the Astra GSE that we had a couple of days ago, or 2 videos ago. But this vehicle right here is going to start at 37,000 euros if you get the non-plug-in hybrid version. If you get the plug-in hybrid version that we have right here, it's going to start at 50,900 euros. And if you get the exact same vehicle that we have right here, it's going to set you back 55,150 euros. There we go, lots of numbers there. You might also be wondering, why am I freaking wearing jeans in the temperature of 30 degrees outside? Well, in yesterday's video, I got completely roasted, so I got the biggest sunburn in my whole life. And that's why I have to wear some jeans now, and it's freaking hot in here. So first of all, let's take a look under the engine, or the hood, where we have the same engine as in the Opel Astra GSE, which is wonderful. Let me open it quickly. 1.6 liter 4-cylinder engine with combination of an electric motor. In total, it's going to be 360 Newton meters of torque and 225 horsepower. Top speed 233 kilometers, so 2 kilometers less than the Opel Astra GSE, and also 0 to 100 in 7.9 seconds. If we can get that 7.9 seconds, let's quickly see and do our 0 to 100 test. So claim the 7.9, let's see if we can reach that. You can't really build up any momentum. It only, well, you don't have a RPM, so you can't really see how much it goes up to. 8.28, which is, well, not that great. We're gonna do it one more time to see if we can get it maybe closer to that 7.9. .8, well, that was really long, so yeah, you're most likely not gonna be able to reach that 7.9. We do have pretty optimal conditions, so yeah, we did have a slope of 1.6, so the lowest we actually were able to get was 8.19. So not too far off, but also not that close. The design on the front actually looks fairly good in my opinion. Like, Peugeot recently have just stepped up their game so much, and this just looks really good. We got a massive Peugeot logo on here, and on top of that we have our little camera in here. You could theoretically also get night vision in here if you want that extra, which is obviously going to allow you to see at night better with the digital cockpit, which is nice. And also just this big grille with these blue touches in here looks amazing, and all of that behind it is the radiator, so you do have real intakes and as well down here, so none of it is actually fake, but it just looks really clean in my opinion. Also, let's take a look further here with the lights, which are also amazing with how far they go down in my opinion. These are matrix LED lights, so they work very nice with the high beams obviously blending out the oncoming traffic, which is nice, and some fake intakes here, but I think this looks really good. Just in general, it looks fairly good. We do have plastic on the bottom, but that's obviously good if you want to do some more off-roading. You can just easily replace those things. Further on, we do have our optional wheels in here, which are light metal wheels, or light metal rims, which are 20 inches, and they're monolith. That's what they're called. They're going to set you back 600 euros extra, but I think they look fairly decent. It's a little bit of an interesting design for the rim, but I think it fits fairly good with the car. Also in here we have our brakes, which have a braking distance of 35 meters. We're going to actually see if we can get that braking distance and if we can actually get 35 meters. Let's see what we get in a real world test. So 100 down to 0. Let's get up to that 100 first of all. Man, those brakes are fairly aggressive, I gotta say. 2.71 seconds is not as good as we had previously. So we did do one test where we had a total distance, or total distance of 32 meters. Let's see what we get now. Drag. 36 meters. Okay, that was a little bit more. I did feel like I didn't press it down all the way, so there was a little bit of sliding as well. But 32 meters we did get previously, so you can definitely get it down to a fairly low rate. But still, 36 meters is close to 35. One thing that you'll definitely also notice is this color. It's Obsession Blue, that's what it's called, and it's a standard color with the Peugeot. And I really think it looks stunning. You do have, when it's a little bit darker, you get like this bluish color, and then when the sun shines on it, you get this turquoise color, which looks amazing, as you can see right now. I think it just looks really nice on the car. On here, a bigger Peugeot logo and also automatically foldable side mirrors. And just in general, a fairly good looking side with some plastic on the bottom, but in general, looking very good. Keyless go also on the front. A roof capacity of 75 kilograms, so not 80, unlike in the Renault, the Opel Astra GSE. And we also have a panoramic roof, which we're going to look at once we're in the inside. That's going to cost you 1,100 euros extra. Further on, we do have tinted out rear windows, and you can see the car is actually fairly long, 4 meters and 60, well, almost 69 centimeters. So a fairly long car, but I think it looks fairly good as well. And on the back, we do also have disc brakes, or no drum brakes in there, which is nice. Let's go and look at the port in here, where you can see we do have a battery capacity on here of a netto capacity of 11.4 kilowatts. which is fairly good. That's going to give you a claimed range of around 64 kilometers. That's what WLTP claims. And you can charge this up to 7.2 kilowatts, just like in the Astra GSE, because it's basically on the same platform. That's going to allow you to charge at just under 2 hours, or an hour or 115 minutes to completely charge it. And you can go as low as 1.8 kilowatts, which is going to take around 8 hours to completely charge, or I think what was it claimed, 445 minutes, something like that. You can also see we have this really long window here back there, which looks very interesting, I think, but it just makes it look very smooth, like transition from the front to the back, which looks pretty cool. Let's go further on, because again, Peugeot, I personally think, are just amazing when it comes to their lights. Look at these lights. Don't they just look amazing? Like, just the detail in there and just how they just look so aggressive and nice, and like black, you don't see any red in there, which just looks good. In general, you do have quite an amount of plastic down here, but I don't think it intrudes too much. It looks fairly decent and it just fits in with the car. You might expect, okay, too much plastic here, it doesn't look great, but I think it actually looks fairly good if you look at it. It might be a little bit bulky, but I think it has a pretty good touch to it. Further on, you can obviously see we have the hybrid Peugeot logo on here and the kind of crossover back, which looks fairly cool with these like 2 spoilers in there. Those are pretty interesting looking. Let's also open the boot to see the capacity. Okay, the car's not opened. Oh, it is. There we go. No, maybe not. We do have a towing capacity of also 1.4 tons, which is fairly good. In here we have a total storage space of 471 liters, going up if you fold over the back seats to 1,545, so a fairly decent range. Loading capacity. You do obviously have your cables in here as well. This one is for just your normal outlet, and the other one is going to be for your fast charger, or 7.2. It's not a fast charger, but that's what that's going to allow you. We do also have a little bit of storage space under here, but not really much. You can put some small stuff in there. The boot capacity is also going to be 65 liters less if you get the plug-in hybrid version compared to just your normal petrol, because of the engine, the battery in there. So yeah, we do also have a fairly decent loading lip, so the height is good in here. It's pretty comfortable to get stuff in here, but in general a fairly good amount of space that you get in the trunk. The interior looks a little bit like a spaceship, because it's something I've not seen before, and it's actually a very cool design, which looks pretty cool. We, for instance, have 2 displays in the center, where one you have your main infotainment display, and then the other one is going to be your quick buttons, which is also a touchscreen for Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is going to be wireless, which is nice. And down here you have some other buttons, which are for mostly your climate control, which is nice. We do also have some wireless charging capabilities down here, which is nice, and some more space down there where you can put your phone or anything like that. 2 cup holders in the center, which is also good, and the same like side console as in the Opel Astra GSE, so any like PSA car, that's most likely going to have the same layout in here. The seats in here might look like they're ventilated, however they are not, they're only heated, and these are also the leather option, which is going to cost you 255 euros extra. No, 2,550, there we go, extra, which is quite a good amount. You could theoretically also just get the normal Alcantara, which is going to be a little bit nicer in the summer. Quality-wise, we do have fairly good quality. If you look on the side, plastic, or not plastic, but like a hard fabric up on the top, and then further down is good quality, other than where the door handle is and further down where your speakers are. Sound system in here is also fairly good, which is the focal sound system. Quality-wise, also in the center console, we do have a good amount of glove box in here, which actually goes fairly far down. So that's a good amount of space. And also the design up here looks pretty cool. We have this like big air conditioning in here and like this gap in there, which looks pretty cool. In general, quality is fairly decent with good quality in the building quality as well. We don't have a heads-up display, but we do have this like 3D digital cluster display, which is cool. But one thing is the layout of it is bad, because we have this really small steering wheel, and I'm more of a person that likes to have a steering wheel a little bit higher because I sit fairly low. But if you put it up higher, you're not gonna have any vision of your cluster display, which is not that nice. So the steering wheel also doesn't feel that great, but it's not the best design. So you have to sit fairly high to actually see everything that's on the screen. We also have a panoramic window, which is going to cost you 1,100 euros extra, like I said. It is a good quality, it also opens, and it is fairly long. So also a nice little touch if you want to have that. Always just makes the interior feel a little bit bigger. We do also have a little bit of storage space in the center. However, this is not fairly good, but you do have one USB-C port in there. But like I said, not the biggest, which is not the nicest. So the back is also very spacious. One thing that you can definitely see is the door is actually very, very big. So you have an easy way to get in. As you can see up here, you have a lot of space, and just in general, a very wide door, which is nice and easy to get into if you're a little bit older or you're just not the most maneuverable person. You can see the seat is adjusted to me, which is 1.10 m or around 5'11", which gives me a lot of leg room and also a lot of head space. Well, not the most head space, but for my height, this is fairly decent. If you're over the height of like 6'1", you're probably gonna hit your head up here, so it's not the most comfortable thing, but that's usually due to the fact that it's obviously a crossover, which is going to make it a little bit less spacious when it comes to the headroom. Again, seats in here are very comfortable. However, like I said, in the summer they're not going to be the most comfortable because they're going to be fairly hot. The ISOFIX points in here are just like the same as in the Opel Astra GSE, due to the fact that we have these zip ties in here. Like I said, Spider-Man meme. It's not going to be the easiest to open once those things rip off, but they're very easy to get to once you have them opened. We also have a center console in here. You can obviously remove this as well, but you're going to have 2 cup holders in here and a little bit more storage space in there. And you also have this very tiny hole, just like in the Opel Astra, like I said, which is going to give you a little bit loading space, for instance, for some skis. We do also have a center seat, which is fairly decent because you don't have that big of a hump in the floor, and therefore it's going to be fairly comfortable to sit in there. We do also get 2 USB-Cs and a climate control in here with a little bit of storage space further down, which is nice. And the quality wise, you do obviously have that panoramic roof, which doesn't go all the way back, so it's not going to be that nice to look out. But it still is there, and it just gives you a little bit more of a spacious feeling. Quality wise on the side, again, for focal sound system, you do have quite a good amount of hard plastic in here, which is not the nicest. So your door handle is going to be mostly out of hard plastic, but where your hand is, it's a fairly comfortable resting position. Let's start off the drive with taking a look at a little bit of the safety features that you get in here. First of all, if we go into the reverse button, obviously, or reverse mode, you can see we do have a 360-degree camera with a fairly good quality. It does move along with the camera, or with the steering input, just like in the Opel Astra, because again, it's the same company, PSA, Stellantis, so there is going to be a couple of things that are shared. So you have that, which is a 360-degree camera, which is nice when you're driving, and you can see if you go into the drive mode again, it's obviously going to put it into the front camera as well. And other than that, we do have quite a lot of safety features as well. For instance, we do have travel assist or drive assist, which is going to be good for lane keeping assistance, automatic adaptive cruise control. We do have blind spot mirroring or blind spot assistance as well. Yeah. Which is all a couple of things that are going to help you a little bit more comfortably driving. If you're going over long highway drives, this is going to be fairly comfortable due to the fact that you basically you have to put limited amount of input in there. Obviously, it does have automatic traffic sign detection, so if you do have drive assist on, it's obviously going to give you that option to also detect the speed limit, and then you can just press OK, and it's going to slow down to that speed limit as well, which is nice. It also worked fairly decent. I drove around a distance of 150 kilometers and I had no issues with it, so it does work fairly nicely. In here, if you're driving in the city, let's talk a little bit more about the comfort. The comfort in here is actually fairly decent. We do have quite a good amount of isolation here, even at higher speeds. You're not going to be talking fairly loud to talk to the person beside you. The sound system in here also does sound fairly decent. It has a fairly high or fairly loud bass in there, or subwoofer, so that is going to be the most of the sound, but it does actually sound fairly decent, fairly clear if you listen to it at high quality as well. The ride quality when it comes to suspension is also fairly decent. It does obviously smooth out the bumps a little bit, but not like the smoothest that you've ever driven, but it is fairly comfortable if you're driving it as a daily around the city. One thing that's obviously not that nice is the steering wheel. Like I said, it is fairly small, and like resting your fingers on there, it's going to be fairly not that nice because your fingers are going to get fairly irritated in there. And just in general, if you turn a little bit too far, you're going to hit your hand on the steering wheel because it just is so low to the ground, and you have to put it low, otherwise you can't see the heads-up display, which is just not that nice. And when you're driving in city, you can obviously put it into hybrid or full electric mode. We can't do that right now because we forgot to charge the car. Therefore, we are currently charging the battery while driving. That's going to lead to a consumption of around 12 liters or 13 liters. But it's going to charge up the battery. We just got to do that for the 0 to 100 test. Otherwise, it's going to be an inaccurate read. Now that, like I said, 13 liters is what you're going to be getting if you charge the battery up like that. Theoretically, if you don't use that and have the battery charged and also use the engine, you're going to be looking at a fuel consumption of around 4 liters and around 9 to 10 kilowatts of battery usage. And that's going to give you a fairly good consumption when driving in city. Obviously, that's good if you're driving to work or back. You can just rely on that and have a fairly low fuel consumption, or even go at full battery consumption of, like I said, 64 kilometers is the range that you have, and you can obviously get that. Ich glaube wieder Scheiße. But if you just want to go from, but you could theoretically also use the full electric mode via the drive modes in here. I'm not going to change it right now because, again, we are charging the battery. So you could theoretically use that to get to work and back, and you can use those 64 kilometers to your advantage to not use any fuel and just charge it up at home, which is nice. One thing I did forget to mention is that we do have a fuel capacity of 40, or a fuel tank of 40 liters, and WLTP is around 1.4 liters. So you do have a fairly good range. Obviously, we do have 260 because that is an adaptive range, basically. Because we're on e-save right now, we're using 12 liters, and it's going to tell you 260 kilometers. When I was driving it, we had around 680, 700 kilometers. That's what you can theoretically also get in here, which is nice. So let's quickly also go into the electric mode just so we can see. That's going to allow you to fully cruise in electric, but one thing that you're going to have to turn on each time is you have to, if you want to use some recuperation, otherwise it's just going to glide you around, you're going to have to press the B button to actually use the function of recharging, or recuperation. Otherwise, it's just going to allow you to step off from the gas pedal, and then it's just going to glide you along. If I show you, I turn off B modus now, so if we just let off the foot, you can see it doesn't go down. If we press the B button, you can see recuperation is going to charge, and it's also going to show you the charge mode in there. Even though the car is not branded as a sporty car, it still has the capability of actually giving you good cornering capability. It does weigh 1.78 tons, so it is a little bit on the heavier side, and therefore it's not going to give you that full fun between these corners. You do have front wheel drive, 224.5 horsepower and 360 newton meters, so you do have the ability to go through here a little bit more sporty. You do get some good feeling when going around the corners, but you obviously don't want to go too fast because that's not what the car is meant for. You can obviously go through here a little bit faster. Like, that was not really fast, but it doesn't feel bad. So if you do want to be a little bit more on the sporty side, you obviously can do that with the car, but that's not what it's meant for. But you can see it does have a fairly good kick, and it does actually, it doesn't feel bad. It gives you a little bit of fun through these corners. But yeah, that's not what it's meant for, but it certainly does have it if you want to use it. So what's my final verdict on the car? Well, first of all, that's a beautiful sunset in the background, and that's a beautiful car here as well. The car is obviously supposed to be a little bit more, it does have a lot of design touches to it, which really does make it look special and cool, in my opinion. And it does obviously offer a lot of things as well. You get lots of space in there, you get a pretty good range, you get an engine which you can use a little bit more sporty. But in general, it's just a pretty great car all around. It does have a fairly good price range at around 50,000. Competitors, for instance, Renault Arcano or the Citroën C5X plug-in hybrid, which we are going to test in the future. So it's a little bit more on the pricier side. But in my opinion, it's a fairly good quality car with build quality and the interior that you get. So in general, a fairly good car. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time. And look at that beautiful sunset. Bye-bye.